right, artist. For our backgrounds, we're going to take our large piece of white paper and I folded it into fourths. So I folded it in half one way and then the other. We're going to paint 4 different backgrounds today, so we have a couple different options to choose from for our final project. We're going to use watercolor paint to create some really interesting effects for our backgrounds. One of my favorite techniques is called a wet on wet technique. It's where we use water to blend our colors. And I just want to talk about making sure we start with a paint palette that has a little bit of water in each color, not too much, but just enough so that that paint can wake up. We want to treat our brush with care, making sure we dip it into the water. We're going to lightly brush the paint. We're not scooping, we're not digging. We're going to be very gentle with our watercolor paint so that we don't hurt them in any way, so that people can continue to use them. So I'm going to start in one square, probably the square that's closest to me. And I want to show you what it looks like when we use water to blend our colors, the wet on wet technique. With plain water first, I'm going to paint some cloud shapes in this one rectangle area. So I'm just using plain water. I'm not scrubbing the brush. I'm just letting it dance across the page. And I think I'm gonna paint 3 cloud shapes, just with plain water. My clouds do not touch. I've got one in the top, one in the middle, and one at the bottom. I'm gonna pick some colors that I think would be nice for my sky. I think I'll start with blue, just getting a little bit of paint on the tip of my brush. And then I'm just going to drop that paint along the edges and in the center of my water cloud I made. So I'm not painting right now. I'm really just dropping water, dropping paint along the water. And you're going to see that the paint will travel around the little currents of water on your page. So you're going to see it's going to kind of expand and mix. I'm going to clean my brush and pick one more color. I'm going to pick purple because it's next to blue on the color wheel, and I think these colors look nice together. So I'm just going to drop some purple paint inside my cloud. I'm not mixing it. I'm just dropping it and I'm letting the water mix my paint. This is going to make for some really interesting kind of like color combinations. I think sometimes the water blends the paint better than I do. I love to see what the water does to the paint as it blends. So now I've got these really pretty areas of blue and purple blends in my background. I'm gonna leave those alone. And I'm gonna decide if this is a night sky or a sky in the daytime. If it's the daytime, I might add more blue in between these shapes. Or I might add black if it's a night sky. I think I might make mine a night sky. So I'm gonna take some of my black paint. And I'm just gonna paint next to my water bubbles. I'm not gonna go inside them. I'm kinda gonna let the water carry the paint. I'm not blending anything. I'm just tapping it on the paper next to the colors, letting it blend just a little bit, but not too much. Black has a way of taking over a background, so you want to be very careful as you're adding black paint that you don't let it take over those beautiful areas where your color has blended together. So I'm just gently tapping my paint around. Maybe up here, I'll continue. I don't want to go into those areas where the water is mixing my color. I just want to hit next to those areas. All right, so you can see I've got kind of a stream of water in the center. I don't want to disturb that. I just want to leave it be because I want to see how it looks when it dries. So I'm going to leave that alone now. If you're worried that there's too much water, you could always take a tissue or a towel and just soak up just the slightest bit if you're worried it's going to take over your landscape. So I'm just going to gently blot it because mine got really a big pool of water there because my paper kind of bent. All right, I'm going to turn this around now and I'm going to work over on the other side. So I'm going to use that technique again where I use water to kind of blend and mix my colors. I'm going to make my clouds different shapes this time just so I can get a feel for something different. Maybe this cloud shape is around the edge of my paper. See what that looks like. And I think this time I would do like a daytime sky. Maybe I'll add lighter colors like yellow. And you can choose colors that you like, colors that make you happy. What colors do you want in your background? I think yellow is a pretty happy color. So I've added some yellow around my background. Now some colors that look good with yellow would be the ones next to it on the color wheel, like orange and red. Or maybe even you could go cool with green and blue. Since mine's a daytime sky, maybe I'll just put some funky little greens in it. And then I'll come back and add some blue. I think it would be interesting to see what the blue and green do when they mix together. So I'm going to come back in with my blue colors. And this sky is going to be really interesting. It's going to make us think of something colorful, like maybe like the northern lights. That's a really beautiful light phenomenon that definitely happens along the North Pole, where our inspiration scientist Jill Pelto works. So that's a cool element to add to our design, is the effect of the northern lights. Beautiful colors in the sky, and we'll watch a video about that together for some inspiration. So I'm going to continue to add my blue color as I come through my page. And maybe I'll add a little bit of purple next to that blue at the bottom of my image. Just because maybe that would look nice. Blue and purple live next to each other on the color wheel, so those two colors work well together. Make sure when you're changing colors, you're cleaning your brush. You don't want to dip a blue brush into the yellow paint. You really want to keep the colors nice and clean so they stay vibrant for the other classes. All right, so I'm going to finish dropping these colors next to each other, maybe pulling some of this water down and blending out this little pool that I have here since my paper bent. I think it looks kind of neat when the water pools, because when it dries, it's going to add some interesting effects. All right, so I'm going to put my brush down for now. I'm going to leave this alone. I could, if I wanted, come back with my tissue and just take off a little bit of the excess water. Not too much though, because I want to see what happens when this dries. You guys are going to go ahead now and use some of your favorite color combinations, starting with an area of water and then working with an area of just dropping that paint right on top, just like we just practiced.